Hello, everyone. My name's Kelly Galvin, and I live in Green Valley, Arizona. And right now we're going through a blizzard of sun. We've been shoveling sunlight for the last couple of weeks. But I want to thank the association for asking me to do this. And I hope all of you get something from this. We've been stuck at home the last couple of years. In 2019, we had some medical issues, and I started working on this kind of stuff, what to do when you're stuck. So first off, what is a blog? The name, the term gets thrown around a lot, but basically it's a nerd word, or you might say geek speak. It's shorthand for weblog or a journal, and this is from Wikipedia. A blog is a discussion or informational website published on the web consisting of discrete, often informal, diary-style text entries. In short, it's a way to digitally communicate with the rest of the world. That digital communication can be one way, where you make post and let people read it, or it could be two-way, where you can allow people out in the World Wide Web to comment on whatever you happen to post. What's kind of unique about blogs is that lower statement. The posts that you create are typically displayed in reverse chronological order, so that the most recent one appears at the first at the top of the web page. Now, one of the first things that you have to do is you should have a Gmail account in order to use this particular website, blogger.com. And as the slide says, you can go to that particular website, and to create your blog, you can either click on the button in the middle or go to the sign-in. But what you need to have ready is your Gmail account information in order to sign in. Choose your Google account to log into blogger.com. If you're like me, you might have more than one Google account, or your spouse or your kids or whatnot, but you need to choose your Google account to log in. Once you log in, you're going to enter your password, click next, and this is going to then take you to the create a new blog page on blogger.com. I need a cough button. Once you get to blogger.com and you're going to create a new blog, here are the starting parameters that you have to put into the blog setup. A title, an address. You get to choose a theme. I chose Kelly's COVID Journal. How appropriate. And by default, it will usually put in that title into the address line. Now, if you want a specific blog address, over here on the top right-hand side, this blog address is available. When you get a check mark, that means that what you've typed into the address line is okay. If someone else has that same address line for the blog, that will be unchecked. So you need to make sure that it's available before you go further. The next item is choosing a theme for your blog. You can always choose it later. And what is a theme? A theme is a foundational set of colors, text styles, locations on the website for the information to be displayed. I encourage you to go through these different themes to find one that may match what you're attempting to blog about. Once you've put in these items, it's just as simple to click the button down at the bottom to create the blog. We're going to move on. Now, Google will ask you if you want your own domain name for it. A domain name, kellyscovidjournal.org or .com or whatever. Of course, they will then be able to charge you for that if you want to do it. If you just want to use the one that came, that you created in the previous slide, just click no thanks. Now, once you've created the blog, you're going to be brought to a dashboard. This dashboard is a place where you can manipulate the settings and the preferences. You can add your post here in this place. And the first thing you're going to do once you've gotten here is usually to create a new post. You can do that down at the bottom where it's circled in blue. It says create a new post, or up in the upper left-hand side, it's underlined where it says new post. I want to point out here that the layout, the theme, and the settings are also preferences over here on the left-hand sidebar of the dashboard, where you can edit your content. Now I'm going to go back. I click the button, create a new post, and it takes me to my first post. This is, if you're familiar with Microsoft Word or other word processing editing software, you get a standard editing dialog box where it's circled in red. This is where you add a title to that post so that you can go back and edit it in the future. And in your dashboard, those posts will be listed. So the first thing you want to do is basically add a title to the post. In this particular case, I just called it first blog post. Down in the content area that I've highlighted in blue, this is your editing area. And this is where you can type things and see how they look. You can change the style, the font, you can center the text, you can use headings, etc., etc., etc. This is also the formatting for that content. The blue arrow and the black circle. This is all the formatting that you can do for that particular content. When you're done, now you're going to navigate over to the right-hand side bar, upper right, and there's a gray circle around the area where you're going to click the button to publish. Now, if you are like me, I like to check it out before I actually do the publishing. And so you can click on the preview button, which will open up a preview of what you typed and see how it looks before you actually publish it. So when you're done adding all of that content, and you can add emojis and links, you can add images to this, everything that you can do in your typical word processing program to a certain extent, you can do on this post. Clicking the publish button will then bring you back to the blog home, the dashboard, and you'll now see that you have a blog post over on the left-hand side, and I've circled it. And if you want to view that blog post, you can click on View Blog. The synopsis on the left-hand side, or summary, is going to show you all of the posts you have and all of the posts you have published. To include, you have stats, how many people have logged into that or seen that particular blog post. You can go into comments. If you have implemented any kind of monetary items on your blog, it'll show earnings. Particularly, Google's pretty good about that, trying to monetize these blogs. You can add pages to a post, etc., etc., etc. When you're done, you can also right in the middle it says publish. That will also publish this particular item. So all of the posts that are published in the blog are listed on that left-hand side and underlined in blue, called published. Now, once we click view blog, it actually takes me to the internet, and you can see how it really looks in real time. Go ahead and do things like check the blog name, and it's going to be centered. And now this is the particular theme that I chose for this blog that has a nice, kind of a wintry background of the mountains. Check your blog post title to make sure you have spelled it correctly. If you have enabled commenting, the post a comment button is going to be there for people to click on it and give you an answer or provide some feedback. And I said earlier about these blogs is that you can make them one way, is basically your pearls of wisdom that you generate and send to the World Wide Web. Or you can make it two-way. You can let people read your pearls of wisdom and send a comment back. Your choice. I think I would probably stick with making it one way for a while until you get comfortable with doing this. On the left-hand side, you can visit your profile. There's also a setting in there where you can allow that profile to be seen by the viewers that visit your website or not. One of the things I want to point out, and I forgot to circle it, on the blog page, there's a button called Read More. You can set this up so that on your blog post, it shows just an excerpt of that blog, a little teaser. So it's relatively important to have that first bit of information on your blog post to be catchy and get people interested right there and get them to click that read more button so that they can read the entire post. You may have a post that is quite long, and if you use this feature where you show excerpts of the blog post, then only a few hundred characters or words are going to show up. And so on the blog, the actual website, it will show your blog post with just little excerpts. So you maybe see 5 or 6, and with each of them having the read more button. So if people get interested, they click that, boom, they can go right to it. All right, step 10, edit the blog settings as needed. Under settings, we've come back to the dashboard area, and I want to point this out. This is where you can change things like where are the comments, who can comment, comment moderation. Comment moderation is where someone can send in a comment, and then that comment is not put on the blog until you've had a chance to look at it and make sure that it's appropriate, and then you can go ahead and allow it to be posted. I think that's important, particularly if you have an open blog where people do not have to log into your website or become a user on the blog, or if you've got it totally open, that anybody that happens to come to your site can read your post and make a comment. You want to make sure that you have comment moderation turned on. The other thing is you can restrict who can comment by a user with a Google account. anyone, only members of this blog. If you click on only members of this blog, you'll have to turn on a feature to allow them to basically subscribe to your blog. So I think this is one of the most important things. Just don't put something out there that anybody can comment on until you're comfortable really doing these kinds of things. Now, sometimes after a while, you might say this blog is old and you might want to delete it. That's also in the settings of the dashboard under the sub menu of other. And so if for whatever reason you need to delete your blog, this is how you do it. Particularly if you've got this blog and it's going out to European Union countries, they've got some things that that might be problematic for you if you are getting into some touchy subjects. So check to make sure that I guess you're politically correct in your blogging for wherever countries that might read this stuff. All right, now once you've started your blog, you got to keep going. Don't quit. If you've got something worthwhile to say, particularly from a technical standpoint, I think that's really what it's all about. Particularly if you're seeking feedback for your comments or you're trying to do some research, don't give up on it. Try something new. That's all we have right here in this particular slideshow. Questions? I can start looking at some of those questions, John, if that's time.
I just had a pop-up question. If you limit who can comment, does that limit who can see it in the first place?
No. If you limit commenting, it depends on if you have on those settings, if you can, if you're requiring people to be a member of your blog and basically to sign in. But generally speaking, once you put something up on a blog, it's pretty much open to the world. But commenting, commenting you can restrict and moderate or just completely eliminate it.
Good. Because it's connected to Google, one person's concerned that it being totally out there for anyone.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. How do you determine a topic for a blog?
Well, it's personal interest. What is it that you want to talk about? If you want to talk about, I live here in Arizona, and I've been putting a trail camera out behind my house in the arroyo just to catch whatever happens to walk by. Maybe that turns me on, and so I might want to post information about the coyotes or the javelina or something like that. It's really kind of whatever turns you on as an author that you want to share with the world.
Okay. Can you delete specific posts versus the entire blog?
Yes. Yes, you can go back to that post. Let me go back through the slides. I think it might be on the settings. Okay, on this particular setting, or this particular slide, step 8, you have the, excuse me, you have the left-hand sidebar part of the dashboard. You'll notice in the middle, under the big European Union laws dialog box, it says publish, but there's also a little delete button there, the trash can. You can bring up a post and you can delete that post if you feel that necessary.
Well, here's the big question. How do people find your blog?
Wow, marketing. Yeah, I think that's one reason why Google has done this, is they want you to use Google. You know, you can pay to get listed up in the higher reaches of a search. It's personal marketing through your email, through your other social networks, to say, hey, I've got a blog up. Hope you'll come and read it. It's usually not necessarily word of mouth, but as people see the blog and then start sharing it, the more people come to the blog, it's going to go up in the Google standings as far as being searched.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really it. It's a kind of a marketing and advertising thing, and also belonging to other blogs, like-minded blogs, and posting there. And basically, when you're on someone else's blog and you mention, oh, by the way, I've got a blog about my arroyo and the javelina that are back there. And so it's, that's what the internet's about, that connected network, and, sharing with each other. LinkedIn, Facebook, all of these things, you keep pushing your blog domain name out there to get people to come to it. Doing things like this, going on the association, and sharing. It's all about sharing.
Okay. Well, here's a good question about the sharing. If I include music in my blog, is there an issue with copyright?
Oh, absolutely. Unless you've got unless it's your own music. But if you're going to download something off the internet, you have to be very careful about any kind of copyright issue, not only for music, but images and items that you might copy and paste from someplace else. You have to be very aware of that.
And I'm sure that there are people that read your blog just to make sure that you're not putting something up there that you shouldn't.
That's entirely true. Yeah, the shadow blog police.
Mm-hmm. Can you make a blog private for family members only?
Yes. Let me go back there. Okay. Coming back to step 10, edit the blog settings. Who can comment? If you wanted to do that, you would choose the big circle right there in the middle. You would choose only members of this blog, and then you would ensure that only the people that you wanted, i.e. your family, to become members of the blog.
Okay, so you can restrict who can see it as well as who can comment.
Oh, on seeing it.
Yeah, seeing it.
I'm going to have to get back to you on that setting.
Okay. And we'll let
that's where you're probably better off using Facebook or Instagram or something like that, where you have your friends and whatnot. I'm not sure that you can restrict this kind of blog unless you create a website that is able to restrict that page and require people to become a user on that website. So you're better off using Facebook or something like that. That's all kind of built in as far as the privacy with those platforms.
Okay, good. Along with that, when restricting members who can comment, do they have to have a blog account so that they can comment on yours, or is it just coming to yours and you giving them permission?
It's just coming to this blog site, and you and the author of that blog site giving them permission. They don't have to have their own blog sites. No, it's a matter of showing up at that site and having a setting that says, if you'd like to comment, then register with us. And usually registering requires an email, perhaps a username and a password in order to do that.
Is there a way when you go to your blog to search for a particular post instead of having to scroll through your entire long stay-at-home blog? Is there a search feature?
You can, you should be able to categorize and tag your blog post, and I don't see it on the slide.
Because somebody who joined yours new
Right.
would have a lot of reading to do to get to.
Sure. Yeah. Generally, there is a search button, and here in settings, if you look down just above the word other, there's search preferences. And I should have circled that one and brought that out. But just like in most media blogs, you could say, search for arroyo, javelinas, or coyotes, and it would bring up those posts. So I don't have it on a slide, but yes, you can do that by attaching tags and categories to each of those posts that you create.
Good question here. Do you need a blog for each subject, or can you combine related posts maybe under like a specific heading under your one blog?
Yes. Let me go back here. Excuse me. So you might just have the name of your blog might be Kelly's blog, and then the post would be topic specific, and then within that post you can also create pages for that post. Does that answer?
I think so, because the question then said, can you group the blog posts related to like your deer pictures so they can all be under their own little heading section? Yes.
In fact, let me see here. Make sure I get to the right one. Sorry about this. Okay, on this particular step 8, on a particular blog post, Kelly's COVID journal, I can come down and add pages to it. So that particular COVID journal could have more pages. Page 1 might be March 2020, and then the next page might be March or April 2020, or different topics within that particular blog post, which is Kelly's COVID journal. But I could create another post for the javelina pictures in the backyard. It would all come under that particular blog. I happen to narrow my blog to Kelly's COVID journal, but if it just said Kelly's life journal, then individual posts could be topic specific with pages and images for each of those topics.
And how does a person become a member of your blog?
When you turn on that feature, let me get to that page. Excuse me. When you set this up, if you put down, if you check only members of this blog, then there some more settings will come up that will allow you to create some kind of contact form or user registration form.
And then fill it out, and then you approve people.
That's right. Filled out, it comes to you, and then you moderate that, and you can have you want to do that to make sure that you're not getting spammed.
Yeah, I think that another question I had was very similar, is if there was a link or other information you can send to someone so they can find your blog.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You mean like through other media, like through your social networks?
Yeah, or I would say that or if your computer club has a web page and you wanted to put the link to your blog so they could find it easy, that there is a general link.
Oh yeah, it goes back to here. That address, Kelly's COVID Journal.blogspot.com. And that's the typical standard domain URL that the blogger.com is going to give you. Whatever you create as far as a title, it's going to put it as basically a subdomain of blogspot.com. If it's available, you get the check mark. That is the link that you want to give to people in your social networks and on your computer club websites and whatnot.
Here's a double header one. First, can you edit your posts after it's been published?
Yes.
So
right here, you can bring this, you can click on that post and you can edit it. And sure.
Add something. All right. So now then, let's say I made a blog long time ago. I presume that once I've made it, it's there forever.
Sure, until you delete it.
Okay.
And as long as you're continuing to pay for that site, if you paid for it, if it's on blogger.com, yeah, it's going to be there.
Okay, and the same thing for any postings that you put on your blog.
Until you put them in the trash can, they're going to be there.
Okay.
It's forever.
Yeah.
If you don't change it.
What if I made a blog, a good while ago, and I forgot? How do I find it so I can see what blogs I've got just hanging around out in the world? Because sometimes we forget.
Sure. Hey, look, I'm in Green Valley, Arizona. We are a retirement community where the average age is 75. Tell me about memory. Well, you can try, you'd have to try a Google search, and Bing and DuckDuckGo would be one thing, or going through your own personal files. Hopefully you might remember the provider, was it through blogger.com or WordPress or some other blog provider, and just, start searching.
I think I know the answer to this one. If you wanted another person to be able to add posts to your blog, would you have to give them your login information?
No, you can, when you allow people to comment, you can usually give them hierarchical privileges. In some cases, you can just allow someone to be a commenter. Then again, you can upgrade them to contributor. A contributor is someone who can send stuff in, you review it, and then you publish it. You may give them author privileges, which allows them to not only create a post, but then to publish it too. Those are some of the advanced settings, but yeah, that's all possible.
Can you remove comments when they are maybe too old or no longer appropriate?
Yes.
So
yes.
You have complete editing of your post plus people's comments.
Right.
Okay. What's the cost of the paid blog? Do you know?
This one's free.
Hey, I like free.
There are some other free ones out there, but if you go to somebody like HostGator or GoDaddy and you purchase a website domain, you can create on that domain, on that website, and set it up as a blog. And so whatever costs that are associated with creating a full-blown website with blogging capability, it just kind of depends on how much you want to spend. But this one's pretty easy, and it's free, and gives you quite a bit of capability. If you go out and purchase a website to be able to do a blog, you can get into some money. But you get more bells and whistles, and more capability, that kind of thing.
Okay. This is a good one. We were talking about it before in a different side, but if you post things on your blog, do you have any copyright protection that prevents someone from taking your words and using them for their own purposes? You know, a blog that contains information like recipes or instructions that you wrote, is that your copyrighted material?
You know, I don't know the full answer to that. I would say once you post it on the website, you know, hey, you've kind of given it, you know, free access. If you're going to try to chase someone down for stealing your mother's, you know, cookie recipe that you posted there, unless you've got, I would guess, disclaimers or other things that, you know, that prevent you from doing that, you're running into some issues of, you know, trying to police it. If on some of these websites that have images, sometimes they'll put a watermark on the image to try to prevent that from happening. But wow, you know, it's the wild, wild west out there on the internet as far as that. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to track that down, that's going to be difficult.
You mentioned that creating your own domain name on blogger.com. Is there a cost for that?
No.
Okay.
No, all you need is your Gmail account.
Okay, so that kind of gives it that way. And speaking of Gmail and Google, somebody made a comment that said, you know, in time, just like the Google pictures are being changed from being able to have free all up there, do you think at one point in time, Google's going to start charging for their blog services?
I wouldn't be surprised. You know, sure, why not?
Yeah. It's theirs to give it for free and theirs to take it away from free.
And that's kind of it. You know, they get you kind of hooked on doing this, and then all of a sudden, oh, you know, we're going to charge you $1 a month for this or whatever. Hey, anything's possible.
Okay. Somebody said that on the slide you showed on the subscription page for options requesting a domain, they thought it said it was extra.
Where was this?
See, you showed option for on the subscription page. There was an option for requesting a domain name.
Oh, yeah. Right here. Okay, this is a custom domain name.
Okay.
All right. So if you didn't like that one, Kelly's COVID Journal.blogspot.com, when you get to here, it is asking you, hey, do you want a custom domain for that? And if you were to click it, they can, I'm losing my voice here. If you want a specialty domain name, you can click here and search for it. And they may ask you for, you know, to register it. That's, I think, is what they're trying to do right there, is get you to register a domain name permanently, pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good question coming up here. Can you back up, download, or save your blogs elsewhere in case you wanted to move to a different service?
Good question. I'm going to have to research that.
You know, you might find somebody else instead of Blogger who gives you a better deal, and you want to move it instead of starting from scratch because you have a lot of posts already. Yeah,
particularly now if you've got if you've gone to HostGator or GoDaddy and purchased a website, definitely you can back up that whole website. But on blogger.com, like I said, I'd have to research whether you'd be able to, it might be in one of the settings to back up these posts. For a more complete answer on whether blogger.com will allow you to back it up, I'm going to have to research it.
Okay. Somebody saw as your final slide and has wondered, and I'll give you a chance to plug PP Ranger.
Ah, thanks. Oh, you're asking me to?
Well, would you like to? Because you've
Oh,
got
sure.
it right there on that screen. You're talking about PowerPoint Rangers and your PowerPointRanger.com domain, and somebody was curious about what's that.
Well, in 2019, my wife and I were stuck at home, and during that time at home, I wrote a book about my deployment to Iraq in 2009. I was 52 years old, and I was 13 years out of military retirement when they called me and asked me if I would help out. And I went in, and I wrote a book about that experience. In 2019, I wrote the book and got it published, and created a website for it, and that's where I'm trying to market the book.
What about the website for PP Ranger?
That's the website is, basically about the book. There's a place, to look at the book and excerpts, and I've got reviews. I've actually got a review from General Dave Petraeus, who was the commanding general during part of my time there, and was also a former CIA director.
Oh, okay, because that you didn't do all those PowerPoint teaching slides and stuff that I saw on that page. It looked like there were courses under the PowerPoint Ranger.
I think they went to the wrong website.
Oh, okay.
PowerPoint-ranger.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, while I was in Iraq, I worked in the multinational corps headquarters in the Joint Operations Center, and I did PowerPoint presentations 12 hours a day on significant events that were occurring on the battlefield.
Okay. One maybe final wrap up. Would you go to your website, go to your blog on your browser, and let us see what it looks like from a visitor standpoint? Because we got to see it with all the management tools and stuff like that. What would it look like if we just came to it?
Okay. Hold on. Let me see. I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to do some stuff here. Can I turn off sharing for a moment? Oh, wait a second.
You can do start a new share at the top.
Yeah.
Or you can just get out of your PowerPoint and go to your browser if you would like to, because I think some people would like to see, what it actually looks like from a visitor standpoint.
Wasn't prepared for this. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, if we don't have to. The other idea would be
hold on. Let me go back. What I need to do is grab that. Okay, Kelly's COVID journal. Oh, I removed it. I did this last year.
Okay.
For the computer club to show them, and then I removed it. Sorry, I forgot I'd done that.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'd like to thank Kelly for taking time out of his busy schedule to present at our winter VTC, and along with all of you who are in attendance, thank you.